King of the Hill observes the joy of holiday travel.
The man at kvkids.com, you'll get toys you can't.
There's some 400 to 500 Americans here in Baghdad. I raised with him the question of whether, in fact, there were hostages. It is not a word that the Iraqis like to use, but the official conceded to me that even though all of the Americans, he said, are being well treated and well housed, and that they are in no immediate danger, nevertheless, they were not free to leave. He called them restrictees.
Back again for another video, and another one straight off the hip. So I was thinking earlier about the teaching of women and how this relates to men. Now, a lot of women these days, they think they know it all. They think they know everything there is to know about their existence and how they should exist. But clearly, we can see that a constant failure is an indication of one not knowing how to succeed, right? Because if they knew how to succeed, then they would not be failures. And this is specifically true of the BW. While there are other types of women out there who bump their head once, they say, you know what, I'm going to try that again. They bump their head a second time, and they say, you know what, let's just give it another try. And they bump their head again. You know, they kind of walk away after that. You know, they're like, no, not going to do that. That's stupid. But a lot of BWs, not all, but a lot, they're consistently bumping their head. I'm watching them bump their head over and over again. And the strangest part about it is you know, they could have a certain amount of leadership in their lives, whether it be their father, brother, close friend, even their man, whatever, doesn't matter. They oftentimes had an opportunity to be under someone's tutorship, and they said, you know what, I've been bumping my head for years. Let's try something different. And then they go ahead and they go under the leadership of someone else who actually has their life together, who is doing things in a positive direction. They may not be millionaires, or they may be millionaires. I've even seen women act crazy around millionaires. That's crazy to me too, about their direction and the leadership that this individual is giving them. Like, they're literally a millionaire, and you are so full of yourself that you can't humble yourself under the leadership because you don't like the way things are said to you. Oh, that hurts your feelings. Oh, well, my emotions don't agree with that. And then you go back to bumping your head. I don't, you know, I guess if you've been bumping your head for 20 plus years, 30 plus years, 40 plus years, that is your new normal. And when you are abreast with a new way of going about things, instead of bumping your head, actually giving you some actual relief and some actual results for what you're trying to accomplish, that may be the enemy, because it's nothing but foreign. Remember, there's a saying out there that says, people fear what they can't understand, you know, and I think this is very true of women. Women don't understand leadership, so they fear it. This is the reason why they say that they don't want to be under any man's leadership, because they don't know what they'll do with it. They don't know. They're not going to fully submit to any man, because I don't know. I'm not just going to be out here looking stupid, and I'm not going to be out here doing what any man tells me to do just because I submitted to him. I don't know. I'm not going to give nobody. Simply what they're saying is, that's fear. They fear a few things. One thing that they fear is that, firstly, that this is something that they don't understand. That's where the root of everything comes from. Remember that women are very creative in the intangible world. Out of that fear is anxiety, and anxiety will, what is anxiety? anxiety is the fear of the unknown, right? It's the response of unknown things, right? And when people respond that way, it's usually based upon things that don't exist, right? Because the unknown doesn't actually exist until you manifest it by acknowledging it, right? Then it's known. You know, for instance, I don't know what's going on in rural Hong Kong, China right now, but if I were to go there, I could tell you what's going on in rural Hong Kong, China right now. Until my vision gazes upon what's actually going on, it's not actually a part of my everyday tangible reality. Now, that's not to say that the pollution in China has nothing to do with the pollution in California, because it does. You know, just because you can't see something doesn't always mean that it has no effect on your everyday life. But what I'm saying is, in regards to a person's fear, these are things that don't actually exist, or they may exist, but they are unknown because they can't make a decision of whether this is happening or not, right? Where I'm going with this and bringing up anxiety, because literally this is the fear response that you're hearing in regards to the anxiety that people, well, women, especially BWs, have in response to submission. That's what the whole thing is about. They fear, like I said, number one, mainly that they don't know what's going to happen. The second part that they fear that someone actually may be able to put them in a position that they want to be in that they couldn't do themselves. Why would they fear this, you may ask? Why would I frame it that way? Well, let's look at what the BW is. She's a very prideful person. She's a very, I can do it all, there's nothing above me type of person, right? The wild BW, that is. And when you pay attention to how she carries herself and how she moves about and talks to people, which one would that scream to you out of the two things that I'm going to give you? Would that scream pride, or would that scream humility? Would you say that the wild BW is a humble beast, or would you say that it is a prideful beast? It has to be one or the other. The reason why is because this is one of the fundamental bases of individual character. You know, it either comes from a place of humility or it comes from a place of pride. You can kind of tell who's who because they will exhibit more outward declarations of what the world should be versus what it is, versus someone who is looking inner to understand the world. You can kind of tell who is who by just paying attention to those simple things, right? So now that we come to the conclusion that she is a prideful individual, this spells why the second reason is that she would fear someone doing a better job with her life than she's doing with it herself. The third reason is because these individuals, these ones who have this fear, actually fear correction. They actually feel being held accountable. They actually fear having to pay the piper. They fear this. But one would wonder, why would you commit yourself to a path that leads down to what you fear? Well, it comes to the fantasy world. This is the reason why I say that you should maintain the reality a lot more than the fantasy world, because women have the ability to lock themselves into the fantasy world, and the fantasy world will literally be fruitful. It will be everything that they want, everything that they imagine, while their actual reality is crumbling around them. And at some point in time, due to the fact that your body is not in the intangible world, but rather the tangible world, you have to come back and you have to feed yourself. You have to clothe yourself. You have to take care of all these things that are part of the responsibility within this tangible reality. The more that women can stave off this thing, this is the reason why a lot of the women nowadays want to find a high value man but don't want to have children. Remember, I mentioned that on a few videos back, that they want to have a high value man who has a lot of resources, but they're not doing this for the protection and the provision of future children. They're doing this for self. Remember, I told you that I would explain it a little bit in the future. Well, here it is. The reason why they do this is because they use that man's resources as a way to stave off the responsibility of their tangible existence. Simply put, I don't know if that's, I try to be very down to earth and very personable about how I'm explaining things. So if anyone doesn't understand anything, definitely I will have no problem explaining to you exactly what I'm talking about. I will write you an essay, believe me. But anyways, so those are the top 3 things of why a woman is considered unteachable. These are the 3 reasons why. And it's fear-based. A lot of it is fear-based, and the other side of it is pride-based. I don't understand how you can be fearful and prideful against the same exact thing, but whatever. That's just women, the extreme dualities, right? But this is the majority of the BW population. It's unfortunate that this is the way it is. Remember, I told you guys not to handle snakes, because if you're not skilled, you will get bit, and you may suffer loss of life or limbs, right? So I advise you not to try this at home. What else can I say about it? I've dealt with these women for a large portion of my life. I've dealt with other races of women, and this is the reason why I can make the contrast. Not to say that any other race of women doesn't have her problems. Believe me, they do. The white girls got their problems. The Latinas got their problems. I'm talking about the ones from actual Spain, the Latinos, I guess you can say. They have their problems, but that's masculine, Latino. So Latina, yes. They have their problems. Speaking of which, I think they're considering them Hispanic nowadays. I don't know. I have to look into that. But anyways, Native Americans, Asian women. I've dealt with probably damn near Samoan women. I've dealt with the array of nationalities out there. I've dealt with Haitian women. I've dealt with Dominican women. I've dealt with Caribbean women. I've dealt with Turks, Caicos. I've dealt with a lot of women. Puerto Rico. Where else? El Salvador. Like it doesn't matter. I've dealt with German women. I've dealt with French women. I've dealt with women from Britain. I've dealt with a lot of women from a lot of different places. Though I haven't dealt with an Australian woman before. I haven't dealt with an Australian woman before, or a Filipino woman. I haven't dealt with that either. But all I got to do is go to California for that, right? But anyways, so I can make the contrast in saying what is wrong with these women, especially the BWs, the wild BWs. It's almost like the HIV virus, right? It prevents T cells from being able to creating the mechanisms necessary to defend the body. And that's a hard thing to fight, right? How can you even create a vaccination for HIV, which simply cripples the system that you're using this said medication for to relieve itself? It cripples the entire system from being able to be used in that fashion to rid the body of such a thing, right? This is the same of how I view the wild BW. She is one that destroys the leadership that is necessary for her own curement, her own ability to be cured. And it's hard, it's like fighting a nasty virus. I mean, that's what I can relate it to, because the infection of this pathological thinking in our community, we can't create. antibiotics for it. We can't create anything to solve it, because anything that we create to fix it, it simply hijacks the system that is being used to fix it and destroys that. So it's really hard to get around. I mean, I'm pretty good at reprogramming, and I'm pretty good at imprinting. I'm pretty good at doing a few things to correct these things, but I'm only one damn person. How can I fix something that is in the millions? And even if I taught other men how to do it, then I am pretty much subjugating them to be at risk as much as I am. I don't want that. That's the reason why I won't talk about a lot of my methods here, because I want you guys to go out and try them. That's not, you don't want the smoke, man. I'm telling you. But what is hard about this is, once again, that the leadership that is present, they won't take it. They won't take it. They'll fight against it. They literally have a system built in them that was installed in them from programming that is meant to fight against anything that will pull them out of the condition that they're in. That's crazy, right? I don't know if anybody ever really thought about it like that. I mean, look at the things that they're doing. They're all self-destructive. There is nothing that the Wild BW is doing that is actually promoting her or her collective to be any better than the previous generation. Nothing. And I do mean nothing. There's nothing that they're doing. So my next part of this is, how do you recognize these women? Well, I can tell you right off back how you recognize them. And it's very easy, because I will let you all know that there are some women who cloak themselves as a YLBW and they're not, because they don't want to be attacked. Because these women can be birthed in the collective and not be part of it. It's just something that happens to them. Something that they're born with, I believe, because it's a level of consciousness that is not present in the mother who birthed the actual individual who has a higher consciousness than the mother who it came from. So it's not even in social grooming. You just got to be born with it, especially as a woman. You got to be born with it. And if you ain't born with it, I don't know. But a lot of these women, they try to blend in with the gynocracy. And they will even pledge their allegiance to the gynocracy, all while saying to themselves, this shit is crazy. I don't know if I want to do this no more. I don't want any part of it. Now, one would say, yes, it is upon the adults to make their decisions to not be involved with something or not. Well, let's look at a lot of the gangs, especially the LA gangs, right? Literally, when the environment is saturated with gang activity and the best way to protect yourself is to join a gang, that's why a lot of people join gangs. And it's no different than the gynocracy and how I see it anyways. There are a lot of people who don't want to die tomorrow for people that they barely know, who don't want to die tomorrow because they didn't sell the amount of drugs that they needed to, or they're in the wrong place at the wrong time just because of the colors that they're wearing. Nobody wants to go that way. But the reason why a lot of those things, in my opinion, happen the way they do is because of the saturation of the infection. So it's just easy to cloak yourself as being part of the infection so that you're not attacked by the infection, right? This is no differently how I view these individuals. So you can roll the dice, I guess, but you won't lose much with my method. My method is simply, even if you're dealing with a woman who appears to be from the gynocracy, like I said, she may not be, but here's a way to tell if she is or not. Simply put, it's really easy. If you strike up a conversation with her and there starts to be some type of connection with her, if you say, hey, do it this way. There are a few ways that I've done it, and it's kind of funny because I know what I'm going to do and I know what I'm not going to do. I tell a woman, hey, I want you to meet me at the park. Bring some bring some shorts, but I want you to wear a dress or something like that. And if she has a huge amount of protests against this and a bunch of questions, and you tell her, hey, this is just something that I want to involve you with, and I want you to be prepared. If she backs off of that, she's part of the gynocracy, in my opinion. And the reason why I say that is because if you built up a rapport and you shined a little bit of your light on her, a woman who understands what a man looks like and what it feels like feels safe. She feels comforted. There are literally women out there who have told me, just from the things I've said, I've never met them online, never met them in my life. And we've had conversations on the phone. They've literally told me, and I've gotten this several times, that my voice and the things that I say are very comforting. They feel safe. They don't have any problem with taking direction. For any woman that I've dealt with who had a problem, who didn't see that I know which exists, she was automatically a part of the gynocracy. And I did my own research and I did my own studies. And yes, that is 90% true, because I actually have entertained women just to see what they are, even though I have a high inclination that she probably is, due to the parameters that I just gave you of how I test these women. And I go out and, I watch things and yep, she's definitely a part of gynocracy. Yep. She's doing everything that the gynocracy does. So usually the first encounter of giving a woman a direction, a reasonable direction, nothing crazy, nothing like, I want you to, well, unless you're in my community, because in my community, that's why I was wondering, should I put this on my other channel? Because I was going to talk a little differently about this. But my other community, telling a woman to show up in some scantily clad attire isn't out of the ballpark for the first meet, just to be honest with you. Telling a woman that you're going to collar her upon meeting, because that's how you like to talk to women, is not out of the ballpark for the other community that I'm a part of. Yes. So there are very different things that happen there. But on the normal side, which we all call it the vanilla side of things, if you give a woman a reasonable direction and she has some level of protest to it that is very brash and comes off a little prideful, she's probably part of gynocracy. 90% possibility. That's my numbers according to, the 50 or 60 or so women that I've dealt with, who I've tested this with. And people might say that's not a large enough sample. I think that's a large enough sample for an individual man. But yeah, I simply don't talk to him after that point. Because I just want to do a study, that's what the whole goal of it was. And I accomplished that. But anyways, that's a good indication of telling who is part of the gynocracy and who's not, upon not so close of an inspection, upon not too much energy put into it, not too much thought put into it. Simply give her a direction. Because women who are needing direction, women who understand the value of direction, follow directions, right? Especially when it comes from an actual man. And if she doesn't recognize as your actual man, that's probably a sign too. But anyways, like, comment, and share. Check me out on Facebook. Check me out on Patreon. But until next time, this has been the Wolf in Better Clothes. May you have a good day, and peace be with you.